Hello there, Brick Fanatics. The following is my 4-word review of the initial 3 LEGO Pokémon sets. Maybe just get Eevee. It's not that there's anything fundamentally wrong with the rest of these LEGO sets, it's just that Eevee does everything good that you see in the other 2 bigger sets, but without any of the guff that gets in the way of enjoyment. Ultimately, if these were Sum 41 albums, this one is all killer, no filler, and I cannot say the same of the other 2. Right, that being the case, I'm going to put some of these to one side. Let's focus just initially on the big un, the giant Venusaur, Charizard and Blastoise set, which is, I'm not going to lie, absolutely stunning. It is incredible. It is a marvel of engineering. It is an absolutely beautiful work of art, but I feel like it was made entirely devoid of any kind of consideration for what LEGO fans actually want. This is the problem with reviewing a set like this. Do I think it is absolutely gorgeous? Yes, I do. Did I have a fantastic time putting it together? Yes, I did. Do I really love each and every one of the Pokemon designs here? I think that they are spectacular. And yet I can't actually recommend this LEGO set because it feels like it's delivered in a form factor that is designed for one person in particular, and that person is Ed Sheeran. Somebody who absolutely loves Pokemon, absolutely loves LEGO, and has way more money than they know what to do with. For anyone else, anyone who has concerns around space, anyone who has concerns around budget, then really this is not the best value LEGO set because so much of this thing is just the base rather than being the actual pocket monsters that you want to play with. These are the 3 characters that anybody buying this set is going to want to get hold of, and they are gorgeous. These are some brilliant, brilliant designs. I love each and every one of them. And I also love the base, but the base is really not what you're here for. Just look at how big this is, right? This is approximately 50% of the build. As I was going through counting the bags and looking at the little progress meter on the bottom of the instruction booklet, I was despairing at just how much of this build goes into the base versus how much goes into the characters. Last week when I first got hold of this set, I wanted to make a video on it immediately, and so I did a little let's build where I started building Venusaur, except it turned out I wasn't building Venusaur, I was just building his chunky base. And this is the better of the lot of them. So it's, to a degree, it's better that I started with this, in that there really isn't too much of it. There's more in Venusaur than there is in the base, but he's the only one where it works that way around. With Blastoise here, you get to approximately the halfway point of his build before you actually start on the Pokemon. And with Charizard, most of it is the base, and only the last, like, 8 bags, I think, are actually Charizard, of something like 16 to 17 bags, I forget the exact number. So most of Charizard is that base, and it is a very impressive looking base, but that's not why you buy this LEGO set. I want to make absolutely clear here, I have very little criticism of the build itself. It is a lot of fun to put together. I think even the base is really interesting and unique, and there's a lot of fun building techniques in there. It's just that the balance is off here. It's just that so much of it goes into that and so relatively little goes into the actual Pokemon characters that are the selling point of the set. So if you've picked up this set, I don't think that you're necessarily going to have a bad time with it, but you might get to a point where you're thinking to yourself, wow, there's an awful lot of base to this. When I did that Let's Build video, there was a voice running in the back of my mind the whole time saying, when are we going to get to the good stuff? When are we going to get to the good stuff? And to a certain degree, I feel like that is indicative of the entire building experience. It feels like you've got to eat your vegetables before you can get to your dessert, because that's the way around that all of these work. You start with the base, you build that for quite a long time, and then you finally start on the actual characters, and then you get to the final bag, and Blastoise still doesn't have a head, and you think, oh, we're going to wrap this up fairly quickly then. For one thing, that doesn't make for a particularly well-balanced building experience. For another thing, it does make you feel like you've paid twice as much as you really need to for this LEGO set. Of the 3, I think I prefer Venusaur. If you've seen that previous video, you will know that this is my favourite of the 3 starters anyway, so it may be that I'm biased in that regard, but this is the one who is the chonkiest, the biggest, the one that feels the most satisfying in the hand. Blastoise is good too. Blastoise reminds me a lot of the brick-built Bowser. It's about the same kind of size, I think probably a little bit smaller than brick-built Bowser. Could have been the same size as brick-built Bowser, or indeed bigger if it didn't have this base. This one's got a huge waterfall kind of thing going on with the base, which does add a lot of elements to that and takes them away, I feel, from Blastoise himself. This one was the most challenging of the 3 to put together. There were points putting this together that I thought to myself, wow, this is quite a complicated build. And so that's another way that I feel this isn't necessarily going to be the best LEGO set, set if you are not a super huge fan of both Pokemon and LEGO. This is kind of difficult to put together if you are new to LEGO. So this isn't going to be a great choice of set if you're just kind of wandering into the LEGO ecosystem from the Pokemon side of things. Then we've got Charizard, who is the slightest of the lot. He is only a little bit bigger than Eevee, and he is definitely significantly smaller than Pikachu, and I don't feel like that's the right way around. None of these really feel like they are to scale. Even within this set, I feel like Venusaur is a bit too big, Charizard is a bit too small, but the fact that Charizard is so dinky, despite being, let's be honest here, the most popular of the Kanto starters, aside possibly from Pikachu if you want to count him as a Kanto starter, because he is one. Regardless, in spite of Charizard's popularity as a Pokemon, as a character, as a life partner in some circumstances, he is the smallest of any of the big chunky elements within this build. So if you are looking at this set because you really like Charizard, don't buy it just because of Charizard, because there's so much else in here that distracts from that part of the build. Now, another way that this could have been approached that would have been significantly more consumer friendly is if instead of one big giant set, this were 3 sets that you could then combine together. I really think that that would have been the ideal way of doing this, because as it is, the LEGO Group and Nintendo and the Pokemon Company are getting the absolute maximum money out of the few people who can afford a really, really big LEGO set, but everybody else is just left with their noses pressed up against the shop window and tears rolling down their eyes. Oh, why can't I have any of the big cool Pokemon LEGO? Now, clearly there is an audience for a LEGO set this big. In fact, it's clear that the LEGO Group entirely underestimated how popular this was going to be, given how quickly pre-orders sold out and how difficult they've been finding it to actually keep up with demand. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they wouldn't have sold more of these combined if they had made these individual sets that would then be tempting to people who are in a different kind of price bracket. It's difficult to know on that front. Would the LEGO Group have sold more of these if they'd allowed people to just buy the starter that they want? Would that have then been triple the number that they sell when they're combining them together as one single set? I don't know. I guess that's for market analysts to worry about. But quite aside from the sales numbers, this just feels a bit mean. It feels cruel to only really cater to people with very, very deep pockets. The biggest issue here is that this kind of LEGO set is really only aimed at somebody like myself, somebody who is a bit older, a bit more experienced, somebody who's been playing with LEGO for a very long time and playing Pokemon for a very long time, and who is able to justify this kind of large set. This doesn't appeal to any of the younger Pokemon fans who are out there, who are the ones, let's be honest here, who are buying the most Pokemon merch year on year. Pokemon works because it appeals to people of all ages. This LEGO set only appeals to people who are 18 plus. To a certain degree, this is a problem with all of them, including Eevee as well. My daughter was very excited to get her hands on some of these, and I said, all right, well, if you want to build one of these, why don't you build Eevee? Because for one thing, that is your favorite of these Pokemon, and for another thing, this is the small one that's going to be a little bit more accessible to you. And she said, yeah, okay, brilliant. And then she built the first bag of Eevee, and she put it in the box, and she handed it back to me, and she said, I don't want to build this. This is too complicated for me. That's a problem. This is somebody who builds 18 plus botanical sets all the time without having any kind of problem with this, but the Pokemon sets are just a bit too complicated for that younger Pokemon audience. The prevailing wisdom is that eventually we're going to get some LEGO Pokemon sets that are aimed at a slightly younger audience, but it feels mean to leave them out of this initial wave of sets. Again, there's nothing wrong with any of these builds. There's nothing fundamentally wrong with having some LEGO sets that are a bit more complicated and not necessarily beginner friendly. It's just that, again, the LEGO Group and the Pokemon Company are being very selective about the audience that they're targeting here, and it is only a minor fraction of the people who want to buy Pokemon LEGO. Hopefully we do see those other demographics served by future Pokemon sets, but as things stand at the moment, this is not the kind of behaviour I want to encourage. I remember when Pokemon LEGO was first announced last year, I was hesitant because I thought to myself, well, there's not much that the LEGO Group can do that Mega hasn't already done with the license. And somebody said to me, no, don't worry, it's the LEGO Group. They'll find a really unique, interesting way to approach these. They'll find something that is bigger and better and grander than anything that Mega could possibly do. And that is the case. This is definitely bigger and better and grander than anything that Mega has done with Pokemon. But as much fun as I had putting these LEGO sets together, as glorious as I think they are on display, as really fun as it is to pick them up and handle them and move them about, I simply don't feel like these are LEGO sets that work for the kinds of people that want to buy Pokemon LEGO in 2026. The biggest complaint, the biggest thing that LEGO fans are always going on about is the price of LEGO. LEGO is getting more and more and more expensive. And to design a set like this and put out a set like this feels a bit tone deaf in that kind of environment. The retort that I hear time and time again when someone says that LEGO is too expensive nowadays is, well, if you think it's too expensive, you shouldn't buy it. And frankly, that's my takeaway here. I think this is too expensive, I don't think you should buy it. Now, let's be honest here. There is going to be another option available to you. Say you are a Blastoise person and you only really want Blastoise and you're not interested in Venusaur and you're not interested in Charizard. Because of the nature of Pokemon, we are told repeatedly to kind of gravitate towards one Pokemon partner more so than any other. And if Blastoise is your partner, then just buy Blastoise. And I know you'll say, oh, but the set is only sold in one big chunk. Yeah, but not on eBay. I do recommend you go on eBay or you go on various different other resellers' websites and you look to see whether or not people are selling off the ones that they don't want. Or indeed, if you are so inclined, I recommend that you buy the entire thing yourself and then sell off the 2/3 of this that you don't want. If you only want Venusaur, if you only want Charizard, then yeah, get rid of the other two. Try and make back some of that money, because I feel like that's going to be the better way to buy this LEGO set if you're only interested in one of these characters. Otherwise, if you're watching this video and you are Ed Sheeran, then yeah, sure, enjoy your purchase. I think you've probably already pre-ordered it by this point, but if you are on the fence about this one, I cannot recommend it, because I feel like not too far down the line, the LEGO Group is going to give us more appropriate Pokemon LEGO sets. I feel like it is worth just waiting out a few more months to see what happens with these, and even in that case, if you get like a slight discount on this or some insider reward points or something, you'll have benefited if you do end up buying this LEGO set. Yes, you miss out on the gift with purchase, but frankly, as much as I like the gift with purchase, it's not worth it in this case. And then maybe down the line, we'll get some LEGO Pokemon sets that are maybe minifigure scale, are maybe designed for fans who have smaller budgets that they're working with, or for fans who want something that is a little bit more portable, a little bit more accessible, a little bit less unwieldy to put together, in which case, great, you're going to get some better LEGO that way, something that is going to fit you a little bit more appropriately. But as it stands, I think that the Venusaur, Charizard and Blastoise set is absolutely gorgeous. I have no faults that I can find with its design. It is so well built, so well designed, but it is not a LEGO set that I think that anybody should pay this amount of money for. But what do you think of this LEGO set? Let us know in the comments and do all of the rest of the YouTube things. You know the drill by now. Hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. If you are going to purchase this LEGO set, if I've not entirely put you off it, there is an affiliate link in the description or a QR code that is on screen. They take you straight to the LEGO website and we get a percentage of the sale when you purchase through those links. Just a nice little way of helping to support Brick Fanatics. Otherwise though, I will see you in the next video. Have an absolutely wonderful day.